Well, hello there. My name is Dave Bila. I want to welcome you to this new edition of News and Views broadcast by Access LaPorte County on Public Access TV. We are a weekly public opinion program addressing local, state, and national topics and issues of interest to the Michigan City and surrounding area. Opinions are the views and responsibilities of these individuals and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of this program or its by co-producers. We will adhere to broadcast rules, but absolutely no one's First Amendment rights of freedom of speech or freedom of the press will be either muzzled nor denied. Any unauthorized use of the accounts, descriptions, and events of this program without the express written consent of Schmo or Blow is strictly prohibited. We hope you enjoy the program, the participants. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no doom and gloom out in the world today. There are good things going on. One of the great things that I really enjoy is Michigan City Municipal Band on a weekly basis entertaining people of Michigan City. I received an email from Jeff pertaining to the third concert of the 157th season of Michigan City Municipal Band. It's the June 19th concert. Important information. I know a lot of people in our viewing audience attend that band performance. On the 19th of June, the band starts at 4:30 at the Guy Foreman Amphitheater at Washington Park. Normally it starts at 7:30, but because, according to reading this news release, they are participating in the Juneteenth organizational that pertains to in 1860 or something, pertaining to giving slaves their freedom from Texas in 1860 or something. And so it's a national holiday. A lot of people don't know that, but it is. Anyway, the band, I believe, is going to perform till the closing ceremony, till they close, or your regular 1 hour.
It's a 1 hour performance.
1 hour performance. Anyway, they're one of they're going to play with Louis Satchmo Armstrong, but one of the songs that I really enjoy is Scott Joplin. Are they going to play the piano of Scott Joplin's?
It'll probably be an arrangement of the piano pieces that he's done. It'll probably be in clarinets and other woodwind players playing.
Again, what these guys do at the Michigan City Municipal Band concert is bring back memories. And so if you're some nostalgic individual such as I really enjoy. There was a medley. You guys played a trumpet medley last night. I really enjoyed that. There were 4 or 5 trumpet pieces.
The Broadway Overture.
Yeah. And again, anyway, I'm getting a little bit off. Anyway, today's program isn't about doom and gloom. It's about progress. And this particular program we've had over the years, we stressed academics through the Michigan City High School. And one way to bolster academics is to take the sponge of impressionable people and utilize that sponge and puts more into that sponge than just water. And one of the things that these individuals sitting to my left are doing is teaching music here at the Michigan City High School through its junior high school program as well as the high school program. Frank Gast is the director. Jason Smith and Katie Martin are the individuals. Katie's from Krieger, Jason's from Barker, and Frank is from where, Frank?
I'm the Michigan City High School Band Director.
Really?
Yes.
What do you got to talk about today?
We believe, strongly that music is important in the arts, and we're really excited about the trajectory of the program as we go forward. We have a lot of motivated kids coming up through these wonderful directors we have at the middle school, so the future is looking pretty bright for Michigan City.
How many participants do you have in your program?
Currently, we're looking around, and it's depending on the types of ensembles and stuff, but we have 100 kids signed up for high school band. Who are just in the normal concert band programs. We will have 30 of those kids doing jazz bands. And we have around, and this has taken a couple years to build, around 75 kids in the marching band program, which is something we're really excited about.
You just recently won a state award, a state recognition. What is that all about?
About 20 years ago, ISMA, Indiana State School Music Association, developed a award system that called the All Music Award. And the All Music Award was given originally to high schools. Now it's also given to middle schools, so it's something we're working on. And it essentially had different qualifications where we had to receive a gold rating from our concert bands, our jazz bands, our marching band, and we had to have kids qualify for the state solo ensemble in a solo and an ensemble category. And if we accomplished all that, then they received a giant 8x4 banner called the All Music Award banner, and they
8 foot by 4 foot.
Yep, it's 8 foot by 4 foot. It's rather big. We got some letters that were sent to the school district, and it's the first time Michigan City High School has qualified for that award in the history of the school. So it's been 25 years of the award, and it's the first time we've gotten it. It took all the work from our two directors and me to make that happen this year, and the wonderful students and their progress of how they've done.
Well, I'm sort of prejudiced because I have a little input, not physically input, but I have a grandson who won a few awards. Were his efforts recognized at the state level towards this?
Yes, your grandson Jimmy was part of he played snare drum for our marching band. He was a very important catalyst for our success in that part of it. He's also my jazz drum set player, so he keeps the band going.
We missed that. We missed your jazz program. What is that going to be replayed maybe, or you forgot about it?
It wasn't working out with scheduling when we had the cancellation of school and stuff. We'll have more coming up in the fall for sure. And he did an ensemble with two other percussion kids, and they did this interesting Latin piece that got them the state qualification for solo ensemble. He also played snare drum solo, got that. And he does everything. He's Renaissance man. He does all of it. And next year coming in, he's our head drum major this year coming up.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow. Hey, again, we got another one in the works. Jason saw this other one. My grandson Joey.
Yeah.
He's 2 years away, so
Exciting.
he'll have somebody beating the skins for the next at least 6 to 8 years.
Yeah. Always looking forward to the next generation.
Why don't we let Jason talk about his situation at Barker, because Barker Junior High School is basically where they start, if I'm not correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was in it, we started in the 5th and 6th grades, but it was different. So talk about how does a student get started? How do you try to figure out what kind of an instrument they should utilize, and how you go about at least forming them to be able to get into the high school band? Go ahead.
Yeah, me and Katie are actually in a very similar situation with her being at Krieger Middle School and me being at Barker Middle School. But here at Michigan City Area Schools, we start band in 7th grade. Starting earlier is something we'd be interested in doing in the future. It's something we're talking about, but right now we start in 7th grade. And so for that, first part of the year, we try to do some recruitment at our different elementary feeders. So like we'll bring the basketball band down to elementaries and put on a concert. Or this year I was able to bring my 7th graders from Barker to 2 of the elementary schools and do a concert and kind of show them what band looks like. And then from there, we also talk to the different music teachers at the buildings and give them opportunities to get exposed to different instruments. And eventually that kind of all culminates in them going to an instrument selection night where they get to try out all the different instruments and kind of rank their top 3 preferences and things like that. And they pick an instrument. And Miss Martin actually does a really big recruitment tour every year.
Yeah, so I took the students from Krieger Middle School, which is also 7 and 8. I took both grade levels, 7th and 8th grade, to 4 of our elementary schools in the district, promoting kids to join band. We highlighted each instrument within the band as well as the band as a whole to kind of get them excited about what their choices were. Our recruitment night, like you had said, is where the students come in and get to try each of the different instruments, and we have many qualified teachers from the area come in and help us out, and they kind of tell the student this would be a successful choice for you, or this is one that you might not be as strong at, and it kind of gives the students the agency to pick an instrument they're wanting. We also set guidelines, and that feeds up to Frank's program at the high school as well, where we cannot have a band that's all saxophone players or whatever instrument of interest. A lot of kids want to be drummers, a lot want to play trumpet and saxophone. We have to get that balanced ensemble, and it all works together to put kids on instruments that they're going to be successful at, that we're going to have quality sounding bands with many different variety of instruments. And then that numbers game we have to play to ensure that the high school has a healthy number of variety as well.
If I'm a parent and I want to get my son, daughter into one of these bands, I'm going to let Katie and then I'll go to Jason. How do I come in and talk to you about it? What am I required to do? Pay for an instrument, rent an instrument? How does that work?
Absolutely. So the students would, their first exposure to choosing band would likely be those concert tours where we come in and play. We kind of get them excited. We made flyers for the families. Here's next step information. At that point, we advertised our rental night, where we were able to get about 2/3 of our incoming families to come in and try out instruments. As part of that instrument tryout night, we did encourage families to rent through the local music store, Quinlan and Fabish, who offers a repair program for our students, gives them very high quality instruments, and they can rent to own. So after they have made however many payment installments, they do eventually own those instruments, which is really wonderful when we get to the high school level. There are scenarios as well where we have an inventory of instruments that we allow our students to use. We play it by ear for families and make sure that money is never an issue. We want our kids to be a part of band no matter what. So it really is a case-by-case basis to make sure that rental is presented as an option first. School-owned instruments are next. We like I said, we don't let money be a preventative.
Isn't there an entity in Plymouth, Indiana, or Warsaw that repair instruments, that provides these instruments free to an individual? Is that at the high school level, or is that at the preschool level?
There is a couple different organizations. One that we know of comes out of Knox. It's called Drew's Gifts to Music, which, depending on how your school has to register for it and different socioeconomics, they can send in a request for an instrument. And from what I understand about the program, the general rule is they will provide them an instrument, and as long as they finish out through their high school career, they can have the instrument at the end. So they have to stay with it, but it's an investment through a nonprofit for the kids to have the opportunity to play.
Do you guys participate in that program?
We are working on buddying up with them currently as we speak.
Because again, with the humongous amount of kids I
Exactly.
see coming, you know, you're not going to have enough toots to flute or flutes to toot, for the foreseeable future if all of these kids eventually take up an instrument.
Jason, how do you look at somebody who comes in and says, I want my son to play, or I want my daughter to play the violin, and that's what I did. And the kid says, I'd rather be a drummer. How do you, that's got to require a certain amount of finesse, yes. How do you handle a situation like that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes parents come in with a certain idea of what their kid wants to play, and the kid tries out different instruments, and they have a strong preference. I mean, honestly, bottom line, it comes down to what the parent wants to do, because they're the one that actually has to make that commitment for the kid. And I don't. It's their kid, not mine, right? But I think oftentimes parents are willing to see, like, when they see their student playing an instrument that maybe is unfamiliar to the parent, it's like, whoa. I mean, I never thought you'd play trumpet, but you sound really good. Okay, let's do it. Or you're really excited about this. So it's usually a good conversation, to be honest. I've never had a situation where someone is so stubborn and doesn't want to, hear it out. So usually it's a good, conversation.
Now, in a band, many times they do not have violins, they do not have oboes, this type of thing. Do you have both bands and orchestras, or do you just have one that plays concerts?
Yeah, so right now in our district, we don't have an orchestra program. It's something that the administration's been talking about adding in, like, our 5-year plan for improvement, and trying to get that. To be honest, having an orchestra program is like a whole other wing. It'd be like saying, like, you're going to go from having just band to having band and choir. It's kind of like a third part of that piece. So it would require more buildings, more instruments, or more rooms, I should say, and more staff. But that's a big undertaking. We have a few students who have, like, moved into the district, and maybe they had experience on a violin or things like that. And we've been able to find opportunities for them to play in our jazz band and things like that. So we love for them to continue playing. We encourage them to do things outside of class, but Right now, our main focus is bolstering up our band program and things like that, and hopefully being able to add an orchestra soon.
Now, I got to go back to Katie. What's the difference between a jazz band and a band that plays in an orchestra?
Yeah, so there's many different instrumental ensembles. If you're thinking about a string orchestra, that's going to be violin, viola, cello, bass, those instruments that you bow like that or across your body here. The standard concert band has instruments from flute, clarinet, and saxophone, our brass instruments such as trumpets, trombones, and tubas, and percussion. If you wanted to do a jazz band, that's not necessarily a shift in instrumentation from a concert band, but more the music and the styles that they will play. A major difference between a jazz band and a concert band is that you're going to have a rhythm section, which typically consists of a drum kit, a guitar, a bass, and a piano, alongside a wind section, trumpets, trombones, saxophones. So in our district, we do allow kids who play instruments that are not trumpet, trombone, or saxophone to join on their primary wind instrument. We don't like saying no to kids. If you want to be in the jazz band, be in the jazz band. And then a marching band would be that same type of instruments that you would see in a concert band, but put on the move on the field. There are a few adaptations we will make. For example, the drums will be put on harnesses. We will not have instruments like the French horn. We'll use a marching equivalent such as a mellophone, but it's the same core amount of instruments. So also, typically, band class, concert band is offered during the school day, but we all teach some degree of outside of school jazz band. Jazz band is slowly becoming a class at the high school level, but this past year, me and Jason actually started an after-school middle school jazz band that combines kids from both Krieger and Barker. Orchestra, when it gets added to the class offerings, will be a class during the school day as well.
Frank, I'm going to go to you on this one, because when I was in high school many, many years ago, we had both, obviously, the marching band, and then we had a jazz band. Jazz band, they had a really good thing going for them, because if you could get in, they not only would play for dances at the high school. I mean, and when I was in high school, you've seen Texas with the Friday Night Lights. Well, in basketball, it was Elston with the Friday Night Lights. But after that, on Saturdays and whatever, a lot of those guys, those people that were playing in there, wound up getting paid to play in dance bands or in polka bands. The polka bands was the big one. Now, do you allow your students to go out and get paid when they are able to pick up a little extra on the side?
There's always offers for kids to play gigs, depending, and usually that's not something that I'm facilitating. Sometimes I'll get like a message and say, hey, can the kid go play for this thing, for an event at the police department or this event, and we try to facilitate those to the best of our ability. And honestly, if a kid gets a $20 bill during it, I'm not going to say that's what they did, you know. Yeah. But, you know, when I was in high school, one of the great things that we got to do is we created our own little jazz combo. We did play little dinner dances so we're just giving them the skill sets. What they do with it is up to them at that point.
Yeah, on that point, Tom Milo, he originated his high school band, again, out of LaPorte High School in 1962. And he played after basketball games and so on. Now, I don't know if his band still exists, but Tom Milo's band played for a long period of time. Does he still exist? I mean,
not as far as I know.
Oh, because I did see him percussion with the LaPorte Municipal Band. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just, again, he started at the high school level.
Yeah.
Well, the rap music and that has really caused a change. So the dance music that we played when I was a kid growing up, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of the differences between the kinds of music that my compatriots would have heard, which is waltzes, jitterbugs, things like this. About the biggest thing we had was the twist, and today's rap music, which I'm sure your kids know how to play.
I think we can speak to that in two different scenarios. When I did my concert tour, when I took my students to the elementary schools, I let them choose some of the music that we played. One of the moments within this performance is I had multiple clarinets stand up and play a piece, and then I would have the trumpets, so on and so forth. And I let those kids pick what song, and I just wrote it out for them and taught them how to play that. If you watched the Super Bowl this past year, you saw Kendrick Lamar's performance, including the song Not Like Us, and we arranged that for our tuba player to play on that. I know Jason has also had experience with the basketball band that plays at men's and women's basketball games. I'll have him speak on his repertoire selection.
Yeah, we're always looking for ways to make sure that the students feel like the music that they listen to at home is being represented at the school, and it's not a completely separate thing. So for like when I teach the pep band, I try to find opportunities to bring in some more current pop music. We've got some Childish Gambino in there. We've got some Kendrick Lamar. We've got Taylor Swift in there. You know, we've got lots of different stuff from different eras. You know, stuff like rap music, it's great. When we're playing on our instruments, obviously like interpreting something that's very lyric focused and more, you know, it can be hard to get that to transfer over to the instruments, but you can find a lot of those songs have really cool backtracks and harmonies and things like that that we can bring out and put into our music. In fact, we're kind of maybe getting ahead of ourselves, but one of our songs we're talking about for our marching band show next year might be some Beastie Boys. So
Rap, yeah.
yeah, we've got rap here and there, you know, ways to interpret it.
In the end, you have to give kids opportunities to play a variety of stuff. If we're asking them to play a waltz or a march or something that's more technical facility, you can't burn them out. You got to give them something that's fun too. It's the we give them broccoli all day long. Now they get the dessert. So mentality. So we do try to balance it out. I mean, Jason programmed for his middle schools some music from Barbie at the end of the year. So sometimes you just have to grin and bear it. It may not be my style of music, but if the kids are excited about it, they're still playing, and you only get better by playing.
Well, last night at the band concert, one of the closing tunes revolved around Taylor Swift.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Eras tour.
Eras Tour.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, it's integrated into your musical talent.
And there are some composers who that's their bread and butter. They write pop medleys that are just, there it goes, the next one. So the best of Michael Jackson, the best of this, the best of that. And you can find that stuff all over the place. And I don't like programming that personally at the beginning of the year because we're trying to build technique and stuff, but you got to give them something fun. So we did like the best of ABBA at the end of the year because they wanted to do that. So just all sorts of different styles we can delve into.
Yeah. Although like not necessarily as serious, like you find oftentimes for these kids, the time they're most exposed to, you know, wind instruments in a band is like movie soundtracks, musicals and things like that. So there's always, you know, a big correlation between us trying to find to bridge that gap between what they are comfortable with and, you know, using their instrument and making cool music.
And
So,
sometimes society itself kind of dictates what we're doing. This is the hot movie of the month of this generation. Like Wicked came out, and I had to program Wicked. It was just what it was. Everyone was singing around with it. So sometimes society dictates what we're going to be doing too.
Let's get down to finances. What does it take for an organization like yours to succeed monetarily?
Well, you have to have the initial investment from the parents in terms of, you know, renting an instrument if they can, because we find that if you rent an instrument, and buy the books and do all that, you're gonna be more committed. There's a financial commitment to the playing, and those kids generally do stay in band a little bit longer. But in regards to all the other aspects, the sky's the limits in terms of the amount. There are some programs that are spending tens of thousands of dollars every year just on their marching show. If you go down to Indianapolis area, they're spending
Six figures.
6 figures easily on their marching show.
At the high school level?
Yes.
Each summer, the production gets into 6 figures.
So
Every one of those kids is getting set up for a scholarship at IU or at Purdue
Right.
in the band.
You wish.
in Indiana, we have probably, I would argue, 3 of the top 10 bands in the nation who are all in the Indy area-ish area, Avon High School, Carmel High School, and their band fees are pretty enormous. They're $3,000 easy for a kid to participate. But you're joining a program that is nationally known and has that particular vibe to it. For us, we try to do a lot of fundraising because it does take, and we do try to recycle a lot of stuff and try to make it worthwhile. And we offer, because we understand it can be a financial heartache for a lot of kids. And there are some kids, we tell them all the time, you can still participate. We're not going to cut you. We understand, but this is kind of what it takes to build the program. So our budget for marching band is going to be north of $25,000 for the year, for the season, because we have to pay for transportation costs for like renting U-Hauls. We have to pay for costumes for the kids because it fits the show. We have to pay for the music that's getting written. We have to pay for the copyright so we don't get sued for the music we're playing. The marching formations, that's another person who creates that stuff for us. So you bundle that up, we're talking 25, 30,000 easily just to get the show done.
So I guess this could be a formal request for parental involvement.
Always.
Always, always. We are.
How would a parent who is maybe semi-retired, how could he get involved in your program?
Just has to talk to any of us.
We have a Facebook page, Michigan City Area Schools Music, and over the course of the summer, we'll be posting information about ways to donate. We're hopefully in the next couple of days going to be launching a direct, almost like an old school check fundraiser, but now it's all online. Your money goes directly towards the program. There's no cut that gets taken out of it. We're going to offer each student the ability to create a page that they can send to family members and other people in their lives so that those people can donate $5 here, $10 here. It adds up and helps support the kids, but then there will also be a general donation. We'll also, last year, you both had started a fundraiser with local businesses, allowing them to sponsor, get their name on our banners and on our t-shirts as another form of advertisement. So collaborating with the community in that way. It's all these little things. We'll be sure to share information on that Facebook page as well to make sure that the community can get it.
Are you involved with the Unity Foundation? Because they grant...
We are starting to get, I just had, in the last year, I got to meet with some Unity Foundation. So we
Maggie Sparks is, she's quite involved in a lot of community involvement things.
They're very supportive of the municipal band in town. So we're trying to see how we fit in and what that looks like. So
I think there's room.
yes.
Do you keep track of your students that wind up going to IU or Purdue and winding up in their marching bands or their orchestra?
They keep a track of us. So
Okay.
we have a student right now who just went to Butler last year and sends us, hey, would you like the link to our concert every, on a Sunday? I'll send it. We've had a kid who went to Ball State that does the same. All these students, because the appreciation of the program they came from and what they cared about, because they went into it for their jobs, they really want to tout it and show back, be proud of us and all those things. And we are. So we hear back from a good number of the kids. Or they'll stop by just to visit and say, hey, this is what I did, and here's my picture from marching band. Great. Because in the end, we may be teaching band, but we want them to be lifelong music appreciators, even if they're not playing doing a band directing job. We want them to still feel like they can go play, because you can keep doing music the rest of your life.
No,
I'm going
definitely.
to change the topic just a little bit because I tend to throw this out to music people, but there was a famous book written about 25 years ago by a lady who had 2 daughters. The title of the book was Tiger Mom, because she was so intent on getting her kids developed in this type of thing. So she gave them a choice between a violin and a piano, because in her background, she had done some research, and she found that added to their abilities, their ability to think, and also to their IQs. And I just wondered if you had any thoughts on that type.
I think music is a really important part of being a well-rounded student. I don't think even your most by-the-books kid is going to be happy if they go to school only for the academic subjects. Having the arts as part of their course opportunities is huge. It develops a different way of thinking that you don't get in other classrooms. Just learning to read music. It's so interesting. I'll have students in my classroom who I know really, really struggle in their English classes, but then they come into my class and they could read music very fluently, and it's a new way of thinking for these kids. There's many statistics out there that will tell you students who are in music do better in school. It is just, there's a strong correlation there. I've had students tell me before, the only reason I come to school each day is to go to band class. And if the correlation is then that they're also going to math and they're going to English and they're going to all their other courses in order to get to band class, that's important and meaningful. I think it should be an opportunity for all students. I don't know if you have anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think even with that, giving students some kind of activity, whether like playing an instrument or if it's another club like that. But for us, giving the students a community to bind onto and feel like they have people that they know, they look forward to seeing every day. They look forward to making memories with them together. They look forward to working hard together to accomplish things like doing well at band contests and things like that. I think it makes a big difference. Just the fact that they feel like they have something to look forward to every day. And along with that, when you're talking about students working really hard to get and accomplish these goals, we're building core values with these students. We're teaching them about perseverance and hard work and respect and compassion. And these are skills that I think are harder to attain in a English or a math setting. But when we have all these extracurriculars and things like that, or where we kind of bridge that gap, I think we're building up the students' person as people as much as we can, even more. Yeah, like we're worried about them being able to play the trumpet good, but we also really want them to be, good, well-rounded people.
I also think it also trains them to have a certain level of work ethic in terms of what we're trying to do. So they are academically working hard if they take the same type of concepts that they put toward their instruments to their other academic cores. I've had a number of valedictorian students in the past at different schools. I've had a number of kids who were on the distinguished grads at Michigan City. So, but if you're looking at it from what they're doing in class, you could look at a kid and go, okay, what just happened in that song? And they can tell you what went wrong. They can tell you why it went wrong. They can tell you other people that were, so they're listening and they're being intuitive. And that's something that they're becoming hyper aware of a lot of things going on with them. And that's definitely something that shows a lot of brain matter that they can react and listen to. And that's just something that we engage them in on a daily basis.
I was going to say too, I think one thing that we really develop is a sense of self-efficacy and like the students' belief in their ability to learn something new. We get a lot of students who in other classes, maybe they have struggled to learn to read for a few years. And so in those classes, those teachers are like, I'm having a really hard time getting them to buy in to like, you can actually improve at this skill. But for us, we start in 7th grade and all these kids have more, in general, not had much experience playing an instrument. And it's brand new. And we can take them from, hey, here's how to read a note. Here's how to hold this object you've never seen before. And at the end of the year, it's like, you're making music. Like you did this and I didn't do it for you. You did it. And being able to give every student that opportunity, I think is really important because some students who are struggling don't necessarily get that emotion or that feeling from school.
And the one thing that's overarching, I think they both would agree, that we believe is if a kid comes up and says they can't do something, we tell them why you can't do it yet. It's something that's a skill set. It's something you build over time. And the kids will get better and better as they go. And it's proof positive. If you stay in band from 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th, you're going to be phenomenal. And not just phenomenal musicians, but you're going to be phenomenal people.
An individual I went to school with, I knew her as Joanne Griffin. She played your instrument.
French horn?
A French horn. And I attended one of the functions of LaPorte Symphony, and I talked to the people behind the scenes, and she was able to play the French horn, but she physically couldn't hear her sound.
Oh, wow.
Do you experience that same thing? You're playing an instrument in a group of maybe 50 or 60 individuals, and you play the notes, but you have really no concept of the melodious tones that you're making. I mean, can you hear your instrument when you actually play it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it depends a little bit on the instrument, but I think in general, you can hear yourself and I think the harder part is actually to learn to reach out and listen across and listen to see what's happening and how am I interacting with others. But also, if it's loud enough, no, you can't hear yourself.
And that's what, recently she just retired from the LaPorte Symphony. So she's been there for maybe 50, 60 years. But it was just, she stuck with it. And it's something that'll live with you for all of your life.
And, when you're playing a section and all that stuff, you're listening across, you're listening to side to side, because you're trying to match up with them too. So sometimes you play a little quieter so you can hear what's going on. Sometimes you are playing a little louder because you're trying to cover up something that's going on. So we all played the concert last night in the municipal band. I could hear person to my left, I could hear the person to my right, I could hear people in front, and I could
when
hear
you play the taps, when you lower down on the taps,
yeah, you start listening because these are our most important things we have in music, because that it's not the fingers, it's not the slides, it's your ears and how you develop that.
So again, that's part of the educational process, teaching people how to relate to their body dexterity, to the instrument dexterity, and so on, to make a fluent sound. Yeah.
I'm constantly doing exercises with my students to encourage listening to each other. It's important to read the music on the page, but one way I'll start class often is give a student a chance to play something, 3-4 notes, play it. Okay, everyone listen, try and replicate it. Those sorts of exercises are really good at developing the student's ear. Even if they don't continue being a musician throughout their life, those sorts of awareness of others around them could really help them. But developing the ear is one of the more abstract things we have to do as teachers.
Yeah, that concept is called a Suzuki concept as far as violin. Do they have a similar concept with other instruments? That, you know, I had a friend of mine, his dad played into his, he played by ear, and he played his trumpet into his, he sat on the front porch, and he'd blow his trumpet into this hat. Is that a common thing? That
With
You're
this,
talking about a hat that used to fit over the,
it was a regular hat, like a derby hat, that was on a stand, and he would blow his trumpet.
They have that's a type of what we call a mute. They have a mute that looks like a derby hat.
A derby hat,
Yeah, it's a derby mute. So you play into it, and it does a different. It mutes, it quiets the sound, and give you a different effect. So for trumpet playing, there's a ton of different auditory changes. French horn, any brass instrument, there's usually a mute. We can make the change of the sound, the tone, different things based on what that's going on. In terms of methodology, you know, all our kids start with the basic concepts, and we're all kind of creatures of habit. We use there's a Suzuki book. There's we use this what we call essential element book, and it does the same kind of pattern only for band instruments and teaches them from point A, not being able to make a sound, to being able to play in an orchestra. I mean, it's all the whole gamut. From
Yeah, when we had Jeff Dobler here, you know, my favorite instrument was the tuba. I liked the boom, 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 boom. I just liked that,
the bass line.
the bass line, you know, it was just, and it seemed
if you're
like it's
going to be
easy.
in a marching band, you better have good upper body strength.
oh yeah.
Our tuba player at the high school in marching band's like 5'2". So
She might be the shortest kid in the band.
the tuba's actually bigger than her. So
I want to go back just a little bit, because I'm sure we got parents out there that are thinking about costs. When you start to compare, let's say, a trombone to a tuba, to a cornet or a trumpet, what kind of costs are you talking about in the long run?
If we're looking at the rental options, most of the payment categories for clarinets, flutes, I think there's trombones. You can't rent every single instrument. Most of them you can, and they range anywhere from $20 to $50 a month. In general, the bigger the instrument is, the more that it's going to cost. That's not necessarily a rule, just a guide. But there's other ways you can find the instruments as well. Refurbished instruments are a great way to get a high quality instrument.
and there's
without the new price.
certain instruments that kids just don't rent.
Right.
We provide
Bassoon.
them
Oh.
bassoon, the big ticket items. We can't. I would never tell a parent to go as a beginning band student. Yeah, go buy a bassoon, because what if they don't like it?
Yeah. As a person who owns and plays bassoon, it's
Or
not-
you don't make them get a tuba. There's just certain cost prohibitive instruments. Now, if they're in high school and you know they're going into school of music and stuff, then you start encouraging those step up instruments and the different things. But that's why most parents go for things such as the flutes. The flutes are the cheapest instrument. Oboes are more expensive. Clarinets are about the next cheapest instrument. So. But they're all set market price, and unfortunately, with inflation, the prices are shifting a little bit.
Drums, I would think, would be in that expensive category. But there, I guess you could have 3 or 4 people that play the drums, and one each get a drum. How do you work that?
For the percussion section, we usually have our students just using our school-owned percussion, because they learn so many different instruments when they sign up to be a percussionist. You know, because they're playing all of our keyboard instruments, they're playing big bass drums, they're playing snare drums, they're playing auxiliary percussion like triangles and maracas and stuff. So we would never tell a student, hey, for your first day of school, please bring 55 different instruments, right?
Yeah.
So that's one that they'll rent like a practice kit for the home that has sort of like a standard. Think like a little xylophone for them to practice scales, and like a practice pad for stick technique. But But then, as students develop interest and like, I actually really like drum sets, like that's something that those students might get into at home and things like that.
I have a question. What is a reed, and what specific instrument is a reed used for?
Yeah, so I'm the resident woodwind on the panel. My primary instrument is the bassoon, which is one of 2 double-reeded instruments, including the oboe as well, and that's when 2 pieces of cane are fastened together, and when you blow through them, it creates a vibration. I make my own reeds. That was part of being a collegiate student. Students at the middle school, high school level won't do that. They're able to purchase pre-made reeds. We also have our single reeds, which are our clarinets and saxophones. Those have a plastic mouthpiece that the reeds are affixed to, and similar to a double reed, when you blow across that reed, across the mouthpiece, it creates a vibration that echoes throughout the instrument. Reeds are they're a natural resource. They are literally made out of cane, and so they're things that have to be replaced, and there's a lot of individuality. There's different strengths of reeds. It has to do with the makeup, and I could get very nerdy about reeds, and I'm not going to do that now. But we kind of have students level up on their strength of reed as they go throughout and are able to put more air into the instrument, as opposed to a brass instrument where there's a cup-shaped mouthpiece that you buzz into, and that sort of amplification creates the sound.
Yeah, you see the musicians have the reed in their mouth
That's me.
before they play the instrument. Is there a certain period you have to get it soggy or something?
Exactly that. So with single reed saxophones and clarinets, they'll just kind of pull it on their tongue, and the moisture from their mouth will get it to the point where it's going to vibrate more freely. If it's dry, you're more likely to hear that squeaky sound.
Softens up the reed so it can vibrate.
Yeah, and then with double reed players, part of our cane is hidden underneath thread binding that holds the reed itself together. So you'll often see us with small like espresso mugs or shot glasses that we put the reeds into with water to help soak those up all the way through.
So could this just a little device be a starting point to learning a specific instrument?
We do.
Absolutely.
On day 1 of learning reed instruments or brass instruments, we don't even give the kid the full instrument. Here's your tuba mouthpiece. Here's your mouthpiece for your clarinet. Blow through it, make a sound. If they can't make a sound on that first part of the instrument, they're not going to be successful when you put it into the instrument.
Part of the
itself.
learning process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's
Minivan.
very creative. It's the building a foundation to. It's just not tooting your.
There are some band programs that take the methodology that they won't even give a kid the rest of the instrument. They'll only play on mouthpieces for the first 2 months.
Really.
Carmel
Yeah.
for their clarinet pedagogy, they start with the barrel and then they just do the left hand and then they do the right.
The clarinet assembles into
Yeah.
2 main parts, with some of
Because
your keys are on one hand, some are on the other.
You'll never, when you're looking at kids and they're playing on a reed instrument or anything, they can play it a million different ways. They're wrong.
Yeah.
So getting that, if you don't develop that, and they get the muscle memory built up in their cheeks and their lips, that's the number one. So that's where all the sound comes from. So we have to really be specific on that.
How does a how does a reed relate to a kazoo? I mean, is a kazoo vibrates?
Yeah,
It's
there's
really
a little piece
similar
of
wax paper.
in there that you're blowing across that creates the sound.
Yeah, when I used to do it, I used to just take paper,
Sure.
and I could just
The paper basically becomes the reed,
really.
Yeah.
essentially.
Wow, I didn't know what I was doing other than making sounds.
Yeah.
You could
And that's so similar to the mechanics of a double reed, like
Yeah.
oboe.
really.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, I was doing something I didn't.
So a kid is in the 7th or the 8th grade band. And when I was in it, we got to go to Riverview Park, which was the Disneyland at that time of the Midwest. Not quite what it is today. But anyway, we always seem to get invited over to March. So our big deal was to get to go to Riverview. Then they give us a pass to get on all the rides. What's the big deal in the 7th and the 8th grades that the kids get to do?
Yeah.
Similar.
Very similar. We take our students, we talked earlier at the high school level of the Indiana State School Music Association, or ISMA, their concert band contests. We do that at the junior level for our students. So they go and they perform and they get a rating. Very exciting this year, both Krieger and Barker, we brought home gold. It was Krieger's very first gold rating for the school, which was exciting. And we also took our kids to Six Flags Great America. We didn't march or perform. We just took them as a reward for students who were involved in the program throughout the year, students who
That's in
behaved
the
themselves.
Chicago area also.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
took a
Gurney.
school bus. It was exciting. There were kids on the bus because we did drive through downtown Chicago. They had never seen it before, and some kids were telling me, I've never been outside of Indiana. So that was very fun.
And then when you get to high school, every 4 years we take a trip with the marching program to Disney World. So
Ooh,
we'll
wow.
spend 20 hours on a bus.
I gotta learn to play the clarinet for that.
So they get to go, and Disney offers a lot of different performance opportunities. So oftentimes we'll take part in a recording session. So they'll play a clip from a movie. Usually it's Aladdin. And the kids will play the music, and they'll just take that as a score. It's the actual scores from the music that they did, and the kids play it, and they make a little CD of it with them playing it. They have opportunities to go march around the castle at Cinderella's Castle, which is a big deal. It's iconic. And there are also different places they can play on a stage on a waterfront and all these. So I've had jazz groups play, marching bands march, all that. So we do that every 4 years because that's a $100,000 plus trip. So it takes a long time to get to that point. But we're looking not next year, not the next one, but the 2 years from now we'll be doing that trip over April, spring break.
Well, if it's every 4 years, then somebody that comes in as a freshman is actually going to get to go on one of those trips.
They all get to go on it once. Eventually, maybe we'll do it every other year, but right now, just where the state of the program is, this is where it's safe to do every 4 years.
Do you guys accept refurbished instruments? Let's say in our viewing audience, there may be a saxophone or something laying in somebody's garage.
We're very fortunate. We have a healthy repair budget that allows us to take instruments to send it in to Quinlan and Fabish and get it refurbished.
Really? So anybody out there, with
they do.
what do you not accept as far as
It
instruments?
has to be borderline playable. We can look at something and see this is damaged beyond the point, or this would be a major expense. But I've had instruments donated to the program just
And,
this year that work.
The things that we need the most of are usually wind instruments in general. The saxophones, clarinets, and flutes. Those are huge. Trumpets, but a lot of people make the call and say, "Would you like a drum set?" We have like 5 of those. We don't. Those are not. They're such feast or famine. Like one kid plays that. So the instruments that are more like multiple beneficial, flutes, clarinets, trumpets, things like that.
We don't need pianos.
We don't need pianos. No.
You get asked that a lot, pianos and drum kits.
Yes, those are the 2 number ones.
But if you have saxophones,
Saxophone.
Free xylophone. I'll take your xylophone off your hands.
Maybe a didgeridoo. We'll take that.
Accordions.
I wouldn't know what to do with that. Nonetheless, teach it.
I've got to admit, I've always wanted to try it.
Myron Florin of Michigan City.
Well, there's a lot of, my day and age, a lot of kids could play the squeezies.
Concert.
I find it fascinating. I mean, notes go one way and then it goes another way and you have to press the same
I have
thing.
a broken one at home.
Well,
Do you?
Of course you do.
I need to fix it. It doesn't have straps.
all the polka bands, of course, this is a different generation, but all the polka bands had one. So.
Right.
It's cool.
Well, they did play last night a Polish.
We played the clarinet polka.
Yeah, the
last
clarinet polka.
Yep.
It was a little slower than what I was used to, but I still enjoyed it.
Our director told us some of you are going to complain about how slow it is, and that's okay. And some of you are going to complain about how fast it is, and that's okay.
That's how the music was written in
Yes.
1906.
Absolutely.
You know.
And the scoring of that particular piece, it was meant for clarinets, and we played it with a multiple woodwind. So some of those instruments weren't used to playing that speed on that particular piece. So it was nice, and we did it twice through this. We sped it up the second time.
You did the second time.
But it's not even as fast as I've heard it. So, and tempo, it's basically, we have kind of a rule. Tempos, if you're going to a fast tempo, it's tempo to whoever can go the fastest, who's usually the slowest. So we just have to do, okay, that person goes, that's their speed, that's where we're going to go. So
And you got to give Jeff Goldberg a lot of credit because he's diversified with his music. I mean, it's just not one all Sousa work or all big band work. I mean, he
has
varies.
Dr. Dobler has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to music literature, and he does program a variety. I'm lucky to be on the board of trustees for the Municipal Band, so we talked about that. He programs all 10 concerts before we walk in the door. There's boxes. So we can literally pick up a folder for the July 30th concert, if that's the date, or and he has it all programmed, all sorted, all ready to go. And he practices. He runs a very tight rehearsal where we can get through all this music, because we do not every week. It's Tuesday 2-hour practice, and then we play that set on Thursday.
He told me once there 1,400 pieces of music in the bandstand, and he says he trades music.
Yeah.
Could he possibly trade music with the Michigan City High School?
There's been times that Quincy Ford, who is the former director of bands at Michigan City High School, is the associate director, the assistant director of the musical band. He'll call me or send me a text or whatever and say, "Hey, can I borrow this piece from your library?" And yeah, of course. And it's just like us. We could call LaPorte and borrow a piece. Or they could borrow. Like a year ago from Portage, we borrowed a mellophone because we didn't have one, or 2 years ago. So the band world is pretty sharing.
So it's a big, gigantic family, musical family out there that nobody actually sees,
Right.
but they all work together
There's
for a common goal.
a lot of little, and in the band world, it's not like, I mean, not every program, but we're all very supportive of our successes of each program. So when we did get the all band award, I got multiple, messages and congratulations from people who are in the profession from different schools and all that, because they're like, "That's awesome for you guys, good job." And we do the same thing. We congratulate, and that's how you build the collegial attitude amongst all the directors.
Yeah, just the sheer numbers that I see you guys basically controlling at the junior high level, at the high school, at the freshman. Where are you going to put all these kids? You made reference to the band room needs to be enlarged.
Well, we're all looking, I believe, at each school, at Krieger, at Barker, and at the high school, 100 kids. We're going to have a 300-kid program, top bottom, next year. And in particularly at Barker and at the high school, those classrooms aren't always big enough. And I know Jason's looking at maybe even an expanded teaching schedule within the day just to accommodate all of the students. Hopefully Krieger will be there within a year or two. There's at the high school level, the auditorium isn't going to be big enough. You can speak to that with those numbers.
The right now, and it's been said by more than one person, we have a building currently that was good in 1970. The facilities were good for the 1970 programs, 1960s programs. Unfortunately, it is not great for current 2024, 25, 26 programs. So we are outgrowing our facilities currently right now, but there are discussions going forward of remodeling and doing some things to improve and get bigger rooms. It's just, the bigger you get, the more problems you have, and it's a good problem to have, but we're bursting at the seams with equipment. I just had to go through a massive clean out of the band room because we just don't have room to put stuff.
I just had an idea. Possibly the librarian might not necessarily like it, but how about moving all of the books out of the library and utilizing that facility within the Michigan City High School as a gigantic band room? Is that big enough?
Probably not.
We like books too.
So I know they're talking about doing some stuff, and I'm sure that I'm not going to speak for them and all that, but I know that there has been discussions about doing some remodeling.
Yes, the remodeling program is in the works. Yes,
it's in the works, and it's part of the big strategic plan. So they have said and made it known to us that we will have a seat at the table to talk about those changes, and we're taking it very seriously because we may not be in the program, but we're making decisions that are going to be affecting the program 40 years from now. Mm-hmm. So the people that were making decisions in the 60s and 70s and all that stuff, they couldn't have predicted what the program was going to look like today. And we won't know that later, but we want to make sure that we set up for a long period of time for the growth and the maturation. Can we handle 150 kids in a band room, or 200 eventually? We need to make those thoughts.
I see the foundation. The foundation has been planted over these last 5 years of what these guys are doing. And again, the future's is fantastic. I see a fantastic future. Now this brings me down to, again, fundraising. Are you established 501c3 corporation, or if somebody wants to donate to you?
Right now our donations and stuff, we have a 501c3 number through the high school. And that's where
I see.
we have tax.
Viewing audience could.
Yes, we have a tax ID, and We, like today, we were donated an alto saxophone by someone in the community, and we got tax ID, gave them a donation letter so they could do that. So we can do that for anybody. It's really easy for us to get that information in, logged in, so they can get their tax deductible write-off for it. We're looking at rebuilding our booster program currently, which will be a 501(c), but we've had a few hiccups in that. We're trying to get that going right now.
How about just a straight green contribution? Occasionally I've contributed it. I listened to a concert, I enjoyed it. And
We put that into our accounts and we tag that as a donated thing. Yes.
Yeah.
So they can donate to the high school and
They can,
and
yeah.
with a letter if they want.
Anyone, like I've gotten this one random letter from a company I wouldn't even know where it's from, and they send $100 every year. I don't know, they're not even from Michigan City, they send $100 every year. So I'm like, okay, and I send them a thank you letter every year. So.
When I was in, we also had, obviously, a drum major for the marching band. Do you have baton twirlers too, like they used to have?
We have a color guard, so they're much larger than the batons. They're the
Yeah.
full 6 foot flags.
They don't throw them up in the air though.
So they do, not as often as a baton twirler would, but they do have some choreography is more stationary where it's staying in their hands, but they do tosses and everything. And then our drum majors, many people will picture a drum major with their mace. Our drum majors actually conduct. So they'll see this year we're going to have 2 drum majors, and they'll be up on their podiums conducting the marching band.
And they're in different marching bands styles happen out through the different states. So
Well,
Indiana,
a lot of them have the flags and all that.
yeah, that's what we do, because Indiana's very competitive in that respect. It's what we call drum corps style.
Yeah.
And then there are some bands that are more collegiate style, that with the twirlers and everything. I have a friend who's a band director in Ohio. That's what they do. They don't compete in marching band, but boy, do they put on a show every week for the football games.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what your focus is and the style of marching. And if you go into like the South, there's a different drumline competitive thing in there. So I know like Maryville High School has a very specific drumline that they do that for competitions and things. So it just depends on the style of marching that the director came from and where they want to put their emphasis into.
At the state level, what level of competition do you fit into? How does it, are there various levels?
There are 3 different levels in marching band specific. We have first one's called festival class, and that is for any size band, and they're just trying to get a gold, silver, or bronze. And that season is the shortest in the state of Indiana. There is no state championship. There is a ISMA performance where you can get a gold, silver, or bronze. We were in that division forever and ever and ever before I got here. I did that for a few years, and I was like, yeah, we need to start moving up. The next division is called Scholastic, and Scholastic is supposed to be building your program up so you compete with the top programs in the state. And that one is for any program that is, well, we're in what we call Scholastic A, any program that's under 125 who want to compete and do a state championship, and then we go on from there to an open class, which is the national championship level bands.
Open classes?
Open class, yes.
Regardless of numbers?
They have different divisions, D, C, B, and A based on numbers, but they're top bands in the nation.
He's about to ring us off because
Oh, wow.
we've got like 1 minute left.
We
But
talked so
I
long.
want to emphasize one thing. If your child is interested in getting into one of these bands, make sure when you go in for registration that they also talk about it and let people know they want to be in these bands.
The more the merrier. Bands are their success is based off the numbers in part, so we encourage every student to look at music as an option, band being one of those.
Well, we've got less than a minute to go, so I'm going to wrap it up real quick. I want to thank everybody for watching. Your input as to improvements or criticism of this program is greatly appreciated. Please contact shows Try co-producers Bob Pollock, Dave Bila, or Tony Hendricks. Tony Hendricks is on assignment, so that's why he's not here. You can email Bob at skrpollock@gmail.com, Dave at djbila1@hotmail.com, or you may direct your ideas for any future shows to our one and only staff writer who's also a pain in the neck. Her name is Sarah Bellum. Showing of our program will be Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and also Monday and Thursday evening at 7 p.m. and numerous times on Channel 99. We also have a YouTube page, and it's entitled Navigate News and Views. So we will be traversing throughout the world with this little bitty program. I want to thank everybody for watching. and make it a good day.